when the Chinese billionaires, the Russian billionaires, the Europeans, when they all basically start buying Bitcoin, the big winner will be the United States. It's not more complicated than you can have Louisiana, California, and Alaska for free by writing a little paper check, or sell the past, sell the stupid gold. Gold is going to, by the way, gold is going the way of silver, which went the way of glass beads, which will go the way of copper tokens, which goes the way of the giant stone coin of the Yap people. It's going to be demonetized because you can't zap $1 billion of gold from an Android phone to an iPhone in one split second. It's not complicated. Everybody's going to figure it out. Yeah, I think the middle of 2020, we're running a $500 million business with $500 million in cash, generating $75 million in cash flow a year, growing 0 to 5%, competing against Microsoft. And so I looked at, option one, I looked at option two, and I thought, well, is there some monster company we can buy with our $500 million in cash? Because right now it's a liability. And obviously I couldn't find one. But then I looked at Bitcoin and I thought, Bitcoin looks like Facebook for money. It looks like the global monetary network. It looks like the dominant. It looks like the Google or the Facebook. And so I'm like, what's the big tech monster network for money? And Bitcoin looked like that for me. So I thought, hey, maybe I can do a $500 million acquisition. I buy 500 million of Bitcoin. What if you could buy a company growing 60% a year at 1 times revenue with cash that you don't need? That was the idea. And it was kind of out of frustration and desperation, but it was a strategic Hail Mary, because your choice is just sell the company, give up. And the company would have been sold for $6 a share in enterprise value. Okay, $6 a share after 30 years of life. Where we are today is from desperation to opportunistic to strategic to identity. At this point, we're a Bitcoin treasury company. I'm on a mission. My mission is I'd like to see the entire world recapitalize on Bitcoin. Every company, every family, every individual, every government. I think it's an economic protocol for prosperity. I think it's as important as English or fire or electricity or steel. I just think it's good technology. It's a good idea. We're reaching the fun stage. The next 4 years, I think, are kind of fun. We get to do a lot of interesting things to help people. If I came to you and said, I'll give you $650 million at 75 basis points, go invest in something. Can you come up with an idea for something to invest in that yields more than 1%? Probably. If you can't, right, you're not in business, right? Probably you can. So we did that, and Bitcoin rallied again, and all of a sudden we were able to raise $1 billion for zero. Okay. And then we realized, well, we might as well take another 500 million, and we took a $500 million loan at 6%, and we thought, well, Bitcoin's going up 60. We'll borrow at 6. We'll loan at 60. We'll capture 54. And it moved around. And then at some point, some banker called me and said, you can do this ATM where you can actually sell equity in the market. I said, you're kidding me. Really? That's possible? And actually, the greatest innovation of the past 30 years, guys, in the capital markets is the ATM shelf registration of equity, because it allows an issuer to sell shares pari passu to an investor. You're basically on the same footing as anybody else. It's a fair thing. And for my entire career, if we wanted to sell $100 million of equity, our stock would get hammered down 20%. And so it felt pretty good to not get hammered 20% and be able to sell into the market whenever you want. But it turns out most of the world doesn't want that. I mean, a lot of the world wants high voltage. They want 10x leverage. Susquehanna wants 10x leverage. Millennium, Soros, they want to be up there in the stratosphere. And then some people want, the MSTX, MSTU, those two ETFs raised $4 billion in a matter of weeks, no marketing. They want 4x, 3x Bitcoin. MicroStrategy is 1.5 to 2x Bitcoin. So some people want to be up there above the baseline. Look, if you believe in Bitcoin and someone can give you 2x Bitcoin and they can do it with intelligent leverage or with a balance sheet you trust, why wouldn't you want 2 times whatever you wanted, right? So yeah, I think I've said before, Bitcoin, it should reasonably become a multi-hundred-trillion-dollar asset class, right? My forecast is 13 million a coin by 2045 base case, upside and downside. I just expect another way to say it is it's 60% ARR at 60 vol. It's going to track toward 20% ARR and 20 vol when S&P is 15 over 20 years. It'll just step down as it approaches that. If you hold a dollar bill for 30 days, you're getting SOFR at 30. You're getting 480 basis points or something like that. If you hold $1 million worth of the S&P index for 30 days, you can get like 15% interest by selling the 30-day calls at the market. If you hold Bitcoin, IBIT, for 30 days, you couldn't sell the options until just recently, but now you can sell them and generate about 100% interest. If you sell the MicroStrategy call option at the market, it's 220% interest rate. Okay, just to hold the share. And so all of a sudden, what we've done is we've created a levered flywheel on top of a product which is already 4x as volatile and 4x as performant as the S&P. The result is our liquidity explodes, our options interest explode, and we do a convert bond in Q1. A week later, we do another convert bond. That's the first time in history anybody ever did 2 convert bonds back to back, 2 consecutive weeks. Then we do another one in Q2. Then we do another one in Q3. Then we do $1 billion of ATM in Q3. And then we start to get into a groove and we realize that at the end of the day, the market's going to rally around some leader. And you're either going to lead in a decisive way, or you're going to sneak around and apologetically be opportunistic, or you're going to hide and wait. So I'm willing to accept the existential risk of the expropriation of my property if the United States goes full on communist, but you can expect that I will agitate in favor of capitalism between now and then, and I'm an optimist. So I don't dismiss the presence of evil in the world. You see North Korea, you see Cuba, you see Venezuela. There is evil. It did happen. I just happen to believe that at the end of the day, Bitcoin is a force of good, and it's going to bring people back from the brink, and it's going to remind them that maybe they should embrace technology and freedom and capitalism and property rights and all of those things that made America great. Yeah, so the shareholders spoke. I mean, by the way, it's not a surprise to me. I was 95% certain they would like it because I meet with them and they were like, this is the most brilliant thing ever. Yeah, just keep doing this. So after that, we had a good week, and then November 5th came, and there's a red sweep, and all of a sudden you have a pro-Bitcoin White House, a pro-Bitcoin Senate, a pro-Bitcoin Congress, pro-Bitcoin cabinet. Bitcoin rages from 68,000 to 99,000. The short of it is we raised $10 billion in 4 years after our initial announcement, and that's like progressively work and learning. We're learning, and the market's learning to trust us, right? We're building a relationship. My relationship's not just with my equity investors. It's with the convertible bond investors. You meet with a convertible bond investor, say, I saw you last quarter. I saw you, you yelled at me for this and this. I fixed this. I'll do this. We're partners together. I promise you I will do this. I'm not going to mess with your opportunity. I'm not going to hedge it. I'm not going to steal your trading opportunity. I will do this and this and this. The guy goes, well, and I'm looking forward to this future. The guy goes, thank you for your $500 million order. 50, like if you have trust and people understand you, they'll give you your money. So what happened next is we raised $13.5 billion in 4 weeks. And if you look at my tweet, my tweet this morning is basically, we generated about a $9 billion plus gain for our shareholders in those 4 weeks. We're making hundreds of millions of dollars a day. It's tricky for conventional investors to understand it because you're not capturing shareholder value creation via GAAP accounting, because for 2 reasons. 1, Bitcoin's indefinite intangible, but 2, in the history of 50 years of the capital markets, everybody's been on the US dollar standard, which is 0 vol, 0 ARR against the dollar. And this is the Bitcoin standard, 60 vol, 60 ARR against the dollar. I think that if you read an entire book of investment advice or financial advice, you don't want someone to end the book saying, I don't have a solution for 98% of your problem, but here's an insurance policy. 1 or 2% is like buying an insurance policy, but 20, 30, 40%, 50%, 75% is like solving the problem. And then the last question is, how accretive is the capital raise? So if I'm selling it at 3 times net asset value, you're capturing a 66% spread. The convertible bonds are capturing an 80% spread. When you sell a convert at an 80% spread and you do $1 billion of it, it literally means that you captured 80%, $800 million of capital gain on the day you did it. And you capture all of the capital gain for your shareholders forever on the 800 million. And so when you're raising 800 million and then you're investing it at 60% ARR or 30%, right? The amount of accretion is screaming. And Bitcoin is the emerging world reserve capital network. The most intelligent thing you can do is just sell the gold, buy Bitcoin. It's a free trade. Gold was a good idea in the 19th century. No one thinks gold is going to be the capital network of the 21st century. So just trade the gold for Bitcoin. You'll have 25% of the Bitcoin network. You'll make $100 trillion on the trade. If you don't want to trade the gold, just issue currency. It's a little bit of money. It's free. Print money. Buy 25% of the Bitcoin network. In a communist or socialist state in Venezuela and North Korea and Cuba, they expropriate property. So if a government becomes communist or socialist, then they're going to take your property, I suppose. So it's an existential threat. And so if you were an AI, you wouldn't invest in gold or silver or glass beads or copper tokens, and you wouldn't buy securities and you wouldn't buy real estate. Right? Not because it's hard to buy it, but by the way, it is hard to buy it. They'll be blocked from the 20th century economy. No one's going to sell the AI the house and they can't trade bonds, right? So they'll be blocked from the 20th century economy.